Child Welfare Virtual Expo 2018, Coaching for Success.
Hello, and welcome to our virtual expo session entitled Coaching for Success. My name is Anthony Mack from the Rutgers School of Social Work Institute for Families, where I serve as the Associate Program Manager for Coaching and Leadership Development. Additionally, I am a trainer and coach with the National Child Welfare Workforce Institute's Leadership Academy for Middle Managers, and I will be your facilitator for today. I have the pleasure to be joined by Gretchen Robbins from the University of Southern Maine, who serves as a trainer and coach for the Leadership Academy for Supervisors, and also Brenda Lockwood, Senior Program Associate with the Capacity Building Center at the Butler Institute for Families, University of Denver. Welcome, Brenda and Gretchen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, we'll be identifying the components and principles of coaching, specifically within the context of public child welfare. Additionally, Gretchen and Brenda will be providing us with a coaching demonstration, which will highlight the skills and techniques necessary for effective coaching practice. Also, if you're following along with us today, any handouts or PowerPoints can also be downloaded from our Virtual Expo resource pod. Our basis for utilizing the skill of coaching in our practice is to be able to assist organizational leaders and their teams to help identify strategies and approaches that will improve outcomes for both children and families. Coaching conversations have been demonstrated as a great technique to reinforce consistency of practice and fidelity to an agency's policy, guidance, and practice models. Additionally, research has also shown that effective coaching helps increase staff and employee satisfaction and staff retention. Leaders who engage in a coaching dialogue with their teams create an environment that is safe and values team input. Coaching also allows staff to be supported and feel validated, and provides an opportunity for individuals to receive feedback intended to develop specific skills. Lastly, coaching techniques and skills can be integrated into daily practice during staff supervision, one-on-one conferencing, unit meetings, a multitude of contexts. In short, coaching is not an event, rather a useful tool that can increase staff engagement, empower teams to have a voice in the decision-making process. Gretchen, quick question. In regards to coaching in child welfare, what are some of the benefits of coaching?
Well, Tony, the effective coaching can really offer an opportunity to all staff at all levels to really reflect on their practice and look at their strengths and challenges and to see how they can improve the work that they do with families and children.
Brenda, anything more to add?
I would say that effective coaching not only helps build staff competence, but also staff confidence in the work that they need to demonstrate out in the field with the people that they're serving. I also think that another key component of coaching that maybe isn't a direct intention of coaching, but is sort of an unintended happy consequence, is that it also helps build worker or staff insight into how they influence and contribute to achieving an organization's mission, vision, and values, and how they really make an organization's practice model come to life. So I think those are really key components or key elements of what makes coaching effective for an organization.
So now that we define the purpose and the benefits of coaching, let's begin to think about, what is a purposeful coaching relationship? As we think about coaching, we understand that it's a relationship that is based on trust and built on reciprocity and must establish rapport, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Also, we understand that it's methodology-based, drawing on specific actions, tools, skills, and techniques as part of a structured coaching process. And it also can be provided by a trained coach that's either internal or external to the environment that we're working in. And also we know that coaching can be done over multiple sessions or multiple times to have this discussion. It can be goal-oriented for both the benefit of the organization and also the individual who is participating in the coaching discussion. And we understand that it's also customized to that individual person, utilizing tools and skills and techniques in order to meet specific needs that intended for that person who's being coached. And then lastly, it's intended to facilitate that self-directed learning by the participant. So Brenda, would you care to elaborate on those key points or areas?
Well, I would just say that, those key elements of coaching, I think the most important, they're all important, but it's really that relationship aspect. I think if we're looking at coaching as a strategy to help improve worker retention, the relationship is key, because when an employee feels supported and they notice their competence growing and they start to feel more confident in their work, they're more likely to stay on the job. So I think that when we're looking at all of those elements of coaching, again, they're all important. To me, relationship is everything. It's all about relationships. So I really focus on that element as really, if you can get that, you got it.
All right. Gretchen, anything more to add?
Yes, I would agree with what Brenda said, and the relationship is important, and demonstrating that is very important, and hoping that then the person being coached will take that out into their practice, and that they will develop relationships with the families and children they work with to help them to reach their goals as well.
Great. So as we begin to integrate coaching into our leadership work, it's very important that we recognize that, again, coaching is not a single event. Rather, it's a tool that can be integrated with specific skills and competencies and techniques. And as we'll observe through your demonstration today, we understand that in various contexts we utilize coaching in, such as individual sessions, supervision meetings, and also in group settings as well.
Yes.
Our primary purpose for coaching is to be able to understand we need to empower, motivate, and encourage our teams to be able to come up and develop strategies on their own, and to be able to look at making sure that we develop outcomes for children and families together. Additionally, we're talking about modeling a parallel process in regards to case practice work and the work that we do with children and families. And additionally, our coaching practice is anchored by specific principles in order to be able to help the coach facilitate that discussion. Those principles being such as, understand that effective coaching is driven by the person that's being coached. It should facilitate growth and skill development in the participant that we're working with. Effective coaching supports development and implementation and sustainability of any change initiatives that may help serve both children, families, and also our communities that we're working within. And effective coaching also facilitates the application of leadership practice and principles that we want to see our workers to be able to encompass and possess in terms of competencies. Gretchen, any key themes additionally that you would like to add on to support these principles?
Well, I would say that it's important to develop an effective coaching relationship is in having an agreement about what your goals and visions are for the coaching, and what does the person being coached want to achieve, and really helping them to drive that process. And asking questions and giving them really probing what they're looking for, and getting them to reflect on their work, their practice, their strengths and their challenges is important.
Yeah. I would say the same as far as getting the worker to sort of reflect on their contributions to the work, to the mission, vision, and values of an organization. I think if an organization is going to look into or providing coaching for their staff, really, again, if we can infuse the ideas and concepts of mission, vision, values, and practice model into the work and help into the coaching relationship and help the worker really develop some of that insight, it gives more meaning to the work and why they're doing the job that they're doing, which will ultimately, lead to better outcomes for kids and families.
Thank you. Thank you for that insight. And as we think about specific principles associated with coaching, it's important to understand what are the skills and attributes that we need to have and possess as an effective coach. So when we think about those skills and attributes, remaining ethical as a coach is very paramount. Also, being able to offer content knowledge and context in regards to the work that we're doing together in this partnership, and as well as be able to manage progress and have that mutual accountability and respect for each other as we develop our coaching conversation together. So additionally, any other key themes in regards to skills or qualities we want to look at in order to be an effective coach in this conversation?
Yes, I think it's important to the coach have effective engagement skills with the person they're working with, good, strong communication skills, and being able to truly listen to the person and try to understand what they are talking about, what they're trying to express, and being able to ask, as I said, probing questions and get them to reflect on what they're talking about and what their skills and strengths are, what their challenges are, and as Brenda said about what are they contributing to this process. I also look at helping them to get clarity about what their role is, and as Brenda said, helping them to build their confidence in their knowledge of their role, how to go out and do the work that they need to do. And that's, I think, very important for a coach to help them to do. It's very important for a coach to be available to give advice if asked, but not necessarily offering and telling them what to do, but helping them to think about how they might make decisions or how they might move forward. And feedback that allows them to, again, think about their practice, think about their strengths, think about their challenges, and how they might proceed.
Thank you, Gretchen.
You're welcome.
And Brenda, any other additional competencies that we need to be, mindful of as an effective coach, such as building rapport, developing empathy? What do those things look like?
Well, I think that just inherently, a coach really needs to possess the ability to remain curious and withhold judgment if they really want to sort of pull out, the strengths of that particular worker. Those are really important attributes to have as a coach. Aside from all the things that Gretchen already mentioned, again, I think that those are just really important attributes.
Okay. And as we discussed earlier, we talked about coaching being a parallel process to case practice. Gretchen, would you mind, providing us more information in regards to that?
Well, I think in a good and effective coaching relationship, you are modeling for the person you're coaching how to engage, how to communicate, how to listen, using those skills that you would hope that they will take out into the field with them. Or if it's a supervisor that would take it into their supervision and coaching with staff. So that you are demonstrating that they are participating in that process, which then they know what that would feel like from that end. They can then look and in turn try to provide that kind of a process for their families and children that they work with, or if it's a supervisor, their staff.
And speaking of demonstration, Brenda, I know you both are going to be providing us with a demonstration today in regards to this coaching process or coaching dialogue. Anything you want to highlight for our viewers today?
Well, I just want to share that the coaching demonstration that we'll be doing today is one. It will be starting sort of at the second coaching meeting between Gretchen and I. So that's something for viewers to keep in mind. So we'll be starting at the coaching planning meeting. There are handouts available in the resource pod. The first handout or the first page of the document is what I like to call a desk reference, and it's a step-by-step guide if you want to try and attempt a coaching conversation with someone that you supervise. It's literally something you have sitting there in front of you, and just a step-by-step, go through the steps. I've done this a lot of times, and so as you observe this process, it's something that comes natural to me, but don't let that prevent you from just giving it a try. The other two, there's two other documents that we'll be using that I'll reference in my conversation with Gretchen today, and that is the best practice skills wheel, as well as a document that provides definitions for each of those skills. Those are provided as resources for you to provide some context for our conversation, and you'll see how I use those in the coaching conversation. And then lastly, the last 2 pages of that document are a template for a coaching conversation that I literally use to create the coaching plan. So it provides some structure to the coaching conversation where I just capture everything we talk about in our conversation, and ultimately gives Gretchen a coaching plan. So as people watch the demonstration, what I hope they will do so that we can talk about it during the chat portion of this session is I really hope that people will pay attention to how I attend to the coaching relationship during the conversation, skills that I use, strategies that I use, some of the things that we've talked about. How do you see those come out during the coaching conversation? So I think that that's enough setup for that, but yeah.
Great. So we're looking forward to seeing your demonstration today, and without further ado, let's provide the demonstration. Thank you so much.
I will.
Gretchen, I'm really glad that we have the time to get together today. This is our second coaching session. Just a few reminders from our first coaching session. We talked about sort of what our relationship would look like in terms of how I'll hold you accountable, how you like to be sort of prodded if you're feeling stuck.
Yes.
And again, I'm not your supervisor, but I certainly may have some interaction with her, but you would always know if I'm going to have that interaction, and hopefully you would be part of that interaction. So for today, our goal is to create a coaching plan.
Okay.
And during our last meeting, I gave you some homework.
Yes,
And
you
that
did.
was to complete the best practice skills wheel
Yes.
to sort of assess where you feel you're at with your skills implementation. So tell me, how was the activity for you?
Well, it was very interesting. It gave me an opportunity to really sit back and think about my practice and what I'm doing, and some of my strengths and some of my challenges.
Yeah. So can I take a look at it?
Yes, there it is.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Sometimes I'll do this activity with people, and sometimes with a staff member and their supervisor, and they'll say to me, well, what if the person is rating themselves higher than they really are? And what I see here is you really have some really high ratings in some of the skill areas, and I think that's great. What's most important about this for me as your coach is it's really about what your perception is about how you feel you're doing in implementing these skills. So thank you for doing this. It helps me sort of know where to start with you, or helps us both find a place to start with a coaching plan. So I'm going to hand it back to you. And what I want you to do is to look at your ratings and choose one of the areas that you really want to focus on. And it's important for you to choose the area because it needs to be something meaningful to you. And in my experience as a coach, when we start to work on one of those areas that's lower, inevitably it's going to bring up some of the other lower areas too. Not that we may not go back and focus on some of those lower areas later, but we want to focus on one that's meaningful to you right now. So is there something on there a skill on there that you want to focus on for this coaching plan?
Yeah, there are several things I would pick, but right now I really would like to look at my documenting.
Okay.
That
And by
seems
the
to be
way,
something
I have
important.
a template here that I'm going to record our conversation
Okay.
on. This will act as our coaching plan, so I'll give you
Okay.
a copy of it when we're done.
All
So we're
right.
going to focus on documentation. And what is your current rating on that scale? So the scale of 1 to 10 is 1, I have no skill in this area, and 10 is, man, I got this skill down pat. Where would you put yourself on that?
Well, it's not that I don't have any skill, but it's a matter of how much I do and how I do it.
Okay.
So I rated myself as a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to read the definition for documentation so that we both know we're on the same page here.
Okay.
So documentation, as we are defining it, is the technical communication and formal reporting of facts, incidents, evaluations, and observations of a specific situation that serves as the official record. Does that sound like
That
what we are
does.
talking about?
That sounds just like what it is.
Okay, so you're a 6. Scale of
Yeah.
1 to 10. What makes it a 6 and not a 4?
Well, I know what to put in. I
Okay.
know what information needs to be put into documentation.
Okay.
I also know that it's important to be concise, but I tend to be too concise. And I think I don't put enough in. I think
Okay.
my concern is I know what it says and I know what I'm trying to get across. But would you, if you picked it up, for instance, or my supervisor, or another caseworker if they were to pick it up?
Sure. So
So sometimes I'm just a little too concise.
so you want it to be ready for someone to just pick it up.
Someone to pick up and know what was happening and that they could move forward if they needed to.
So I'm curious, has there ever been a time in your, in this position, in this role, in your career, where it's been lower than a 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that time.
When we only had half of our unit, we had vacancies in the unit, at least half of them, and we were covering 6 caseloads. There were 3 of us. We were covering 6 caseloads. That's
Okay.
hard because you have
Yeah.
that many more cases, and documentation oftentimes takes a back seat.
Sure, sure. So on the other side of that, has there ever been a time where it's been higher than a 6?
Well, it was. I don't know how the quality was, but when I was a new caseworker and only had 6 cases, I could document everything.
Sure. So when the caseloads were lower.
Yeah, and I don't ever expect them to be that low again. But when you have less caseload,
Sure.
You often can do more.
I like to ask that question, has it ever been lower or higher, to just get a sense of sort of what helps you be more successful at implementing this skill, and so what are some of the things that makes it more difficult or challenging for you to implement this skill. So I'm curious, if I were to ask your supervisor, where would she put you on this, do you think?
I think she would see that as pretty reasonable.
Okay,
She and I
6.
talk a lot about my need to document get that done.
It's a challenging skill set for
It's
a
the
lot
bane
of people.
of many caseworkers' existence.
Awesome.
That's just what it is.
So we're going to move on to the next step of our conversation, and that is exploring possibilities. And this is a really important step because it's really where we're going to brainstorm what would need to happen in order for you to move from a 6 to a 7, or at least closer to a 10. So I want you to just keep the gates of possibility open. I don't want to, even if it sounds ridiculous, I'm going to put it down because I just don't want anything to sort of stop your possibility thinking. And if it's okay with you, if you get stuck, I might chime in with a few things.
Sure.
But so my question then is, for this step is, what would need to happen for you, Gretchen, to move closer to a 10 on the scale?
You could send me to a Caribbean island.
Oh, Caribbean
and
island,
let
I like
me,
that.
Yeah, stay there for 3 weeks
I
and
like
get
that.
all caught up. I'd like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Especially if I could come coach you there.
Well, yeah, that'd be good.
What else?
Well, along that vein, I need some protected time.
Protected
where
time.
I'm not interrupted.
Yes. What else?
Well, I need to schedule time.
Schedule time.
Just like an appointment. I mean, that would help. Because if it's not in my schedule, I would not focus on it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What else?
I need my supervisor to help me in protecting that time. I need her to help me reinforce that I shouldn't be interrupted, and that maybe only she can determine if something is important enough or emergent enough to interrupt me.
So she's going to be key in this. What else?
It might be useful, and I always try to do this, but it might be useful to develop something that allows me to organize my thoughts in the field so that when I come back, I don't have to spend so much time organizing my thoughts, that I can just read it off or type it in to the system.
So some kind of template or something.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great list. So here's what I've got. Caribbean island.
Yeah.
Protected time. Actually scheduling the time in your calendar so it's there. Support from your supervisor to protect the time, to really give you that time to do your documentation. And then something to organize your thoughts while you're in the field or when you get back from the field. Great. Excellent list. Anything else to add? It's a good list.
I mean, I suppose it would be nice if somebody else could type it up for me, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
Okay. Someone else to type it up. Excellent. Okay, to move on to the next step?
Yeah.
Great. So let's move on to the next step that I like to call Visit the Future. And to me as a coach, this is a really important step because it's really exploring why this matters, why making this change matters. If it's not going to make a difference, you're not going to put the energy into the work that needs to be done to move closer to a 10. So I want to start with the question, what difference do you think it'll make for families when you're closer to a 10 in your documentation?
Well, I don't know that the family would necessarily recognize what difference it makes, but it's their story.
Yes.
And it really needs to be accurate and complete so that as others pick this up or others need to read it, they know what happened in this family and they know where this family is and what needs to be done next.
Yeah, and it really does help illustrate one of your agency mission or agency values of respect for the family.
It does.
Really, it's an important element.
It really does.
What difference do you think it'll make for your supervisor when you're closer to a 10?
Well, she won't have to bug me so much. That'll make a big difference. But I think the difference for her is that it'll be in the record. She will have it available to her if I'm not available.
Okay.
She can read it and help me to figure out where am I going in this case? How is this case moving through, and how are we getting the family to the goals that they have?
Yes. She bugs you because it's an important skill.
Yes,
right?
she does.
These skills, all of these skills really help make your practice model come to life. So this is great that you're focusing on this one today. So what difference is it going to make for you when you're closer to a 10?
Well, for one, I won't have it looming over me, and it takes away a lot of stress because I know it needs to be done, but it isn't always the top priority for me because being face-to-face is what's top priority, or the tasks that if I don't do them, then the family doesn't get what they need. So I tend to put that in the back seat, which is not good.
Well, it's huge. I mean, this is a stressful job. So
it is a
anything you
stressful
can do
job.
to, release stress. What difference do you think it'll make for your organization? It's got a big picture.
Well, that's really hard to say. From my point of view as a worker, I'm looking at what do I do to make this family do what they need, get to the services they need, get this family healthy again.
Yeah.
So I don't always think about, they're going to be looking at this up at the State House. But I know it's important. I know that it's important to have it in the records. Again, it needs to be complete and accurate.
I would think from an organizational perspective, it's important because you do have a mission, vision, and values as an organization, and your organization wants to know what, how are our employees demonstrating this mission and vision and values to the people we serve. So let's go back to the first column that you brainstormed around. What would need to happen in order for you to move closer to the 10? Keeping in mind all of these wonderful things that are going to happen when you move closer to a 10. So the Caribbean island, protected time, scheduling time in your calendar, supervisor support, something to organize your thoughts in the field, and then someone to type up your notes for you. Is there anything on that list, one, maybe two things, that you feel like in the next couple of months you'd be able to sort of work on putting into implementing?
Yeah, realistically, I need to go and look at my calendar, and I need to schedule time every week
Let's circle
to do
that
one. As I said, if it's not on my calendar, I won't pay attention. I look at my calendar and plan my days and whatever my week. So that's important to put it in as an appointment and hold it sacred. And say, I'm going to do this.
Okay, so putting time on your calendar. Anything else on this list that you think would be help support that?
Yeah, I need to bring that to my supervisor, and we need to talk about it. And I need to inform her of my plan and ask for her support and tell her what I need.
Okay, so scheduling time on your calendar to do your documentation, and speaking with your supervisor about what you need from her in order to implement this plan.
Yeah.
So those are the two things we're going to focus on for your coaching plan.
Okay.
So scheduling time in your calendar. When can you do that? What do you think makes sense?
I need to do that today because I meet with her tomorrow.
Okay.
And it'll be a perfect time for me to ask her and talk to her about this.
Okay.
I won't have to wait or interrupt, do something.
Okay. So what will you do today?
I'm going to go and look at my calendar when I
look at your calendar.
when I leave here, or by the end of the day.
Okay. And are you just going to sort of plug in times each week, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to plug in some time each week, and I'm going to look at and see how much time I have available each week to do that.
Okay, great.
But it'll be at least 2 hours.
Okay. And then the next thing you're going to do is talk with your supervisor about that. When will you do that by?
Tomorrow.
Excellent.
I have an appointment with her at 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. And what kinds of things will you talk with her about?
What we're talking about now, basically, that I have scheduled this time into my calendar and why, and what I need from her to, and talk about a plan of how she can help me and what she can actually do.
So what you need from her is how she can help you, how she can help. What if she doesn't buy into this plan?
Oh, she'll buy into it. She wants this documentation done. She may have some suggestions about how I go about it and how we do the protected time and things, but she will support, I believe she'll support this.
Sounds like you have a pretty good relationship with your supervisor, so that's good. How might I support you as your coach in this?
Well, I think, you had talked last week about wanting to keep in touch with me between last time we met.
Yeah, I was going to.
It's not last week.
I was going to email you.
It just feels like it's last week. Yeah, that you would contact me between times. So I think you're going to have I'll share my schedule with you.
Okay.
And you are welcome to, email me and see if I actually did it that week.
Excellent. So I'll email you weekly.
Yeah.
I wonder if you would be willing to let me know what your calendar looks like for your weekly time. Will you just send me an email and say,
I'll send you what it is.
For the next, you're going to try this for how long? 8 weeks?
I think I'd like to try it for 8 weeks to see if, it's going to take some time to get it into a pattern because I'm already booked.
Sure. So you are booked.
Yeah.
So you'll send me your plan that you come up with. And will you also just send me, when you have time, just an email and let me know how the conversation went with your supervisor?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll email you in between. What else was I going to say about this? Oh, so 8 weeks from now, you're moving closer to a 10. What do you think will look different in your documentation?
Well, as I said, sometimes I'm too concise.
Okay.
What will change is that I will really be more critical about what I'm putting in.
Okay.
And not rush. I get concise because I'm in a hurry and I want to get everything in, but I don't have time.
Sure.
So some documentation is better than nothing.
Is that something that you might be willing to speak with your supervisor about to see if she has ideas for you about what you could, how you could improve your documentation in the next 8 weeks? Okay. So I'm going to put that on your
to-do list?
talk-to list.
Ah, okay.
All right. I mean, I really think that your supervisor will be a partner for you in this. And so any way that you can sort of engage her in this with you, I think will be good because she is going to be a huge support for you. Okay, so scheduling time on your calendar, you're going to look at that later today. You're going to fill in some time each week, 2 hours each week, and be committed to that. You're also going to talk with your supervisor about how she can support you, what ideas she has for how you can improve your documentation, and then you're going to let me know all about that. So last question for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, because you know I love a scaling question.
I know you do.
How confident are you that this plan will work? So 1 is no confidence, 10, I got all the confidence in the world.
Well, you know, the optimistic side of me says, oh, a 10, because I know
good.
it'll happen.
I like it.
However, I think realistically, maybe a 7 or 8, because
Okay.
I have to see how it all pans out with the rest of the
Okay.
work that I'm doing. And that's going to take some time. But I'm going to I'll aim for a 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
at least a 9 and
I
a half.
aim high.
Is there anything that I could do or we could change about the plan that would change it from a 7-8 to an 8-9?
Well, no, I think we have
Okay.
a good plan, and I think we'll see how it plays out. And if all goes well, it will be a 10. The 10 will be, the content be what I want it to be?
Yes.
That's the big piece.
And what your
the time I
supervisor
have.
wants it to be. Great. So there we go. We have a coaching plan.
Excellent.
How was this conversation for you? How did that go for you?
Well, this was a pretty easy one. This was good, but
Yeah.
it's a good it's a good pattern, I think. I appreciate the opportunity.
Good.
It's nice to be able to sit and think about this.
Yeah.
Because I hate documenting things. It's my,
I know a lot of people are really. It's
I'd
a
much
challenge.
rather be face to face with
Right.
clients.
Well, I think this
important.
is a solid plan, and I look forward to seeing how it goes for you. All right, and I'll give you a
Okay.
copy of this one.
Okay, and I'll see you next month.
Okay.
All right.
Well, yeah. Well, let's figure that time out. So today is what,
Today's the 8th.
8th? So what's next month? April? Should we shoot for around the same time? And I'll check in with you weekly.
Okay.
Okay. April 8th, same time, same place?
Same time, same
Okay.
place. Works for me.
Good luck.
Great. Thank you.
Brenda and Gretchen, thank you so much for that insightful overview and demonstration in regards to an effective coaching conversation. You both truly provided us with a nice overview and insight in regards to the skills and techniques utilized, for comprehensive coaching within the workforce, within child welfare. Skills that we saw highlighted were the use of reflective listening to be able to gain clarity and understanding of what Gretchen really was going for and the purpose and context of our goal today and your goal today in your conversation. Also, you're able to establish a true sense of trust and rapport, and also mutual accountability as you define what the roles and what, setting the calendar and your next steps in regards to developing that plan and putting in a course of action, and also receiving feedback as well. You were able to also allow Gretchen to be able to feel empowered and motivated in her next steps as a practitioner, and also working with her families, and also identify what her role is within the organization in terms of supporting the mission, values of the organization as well. As we think about coaching being a purposeful relationship, allowing Gretchen to be able to be self-reflective and much more self-aware, and we know that coaching can be done in a multitude of contexts. However, from a big picture organizational perspective, Brenda, what would you recommend for organizations to do to be able to support coaching strategies with their workforce in their organization?
Well, there are a variety of ways. So, of course, there's the obvious option of utilizing an outside coaching resource. Come into your organization to coach your staff. From a sustainability standpoint or a capacity building standpoint, I would suggest or encourage organizations to look at training their supervisors and supporting their supervisors to incorporate skills and strategies into their supervision, whether it's individual supervision or group supervision. I've seen another creative way of approaching this by some organizations is to train and support a core group of coaches within the organization. So they identify individuals who have, top of the notch skills in certain areas that are identified as coaches. So if there's a staff member that needs coaching in a particular skill or a particular approach, they can sign up for coaching with that individual. So maybe it's a lead worker who's trained to be a coach, or somebody else within the organization. So those are just some ways that an organization could go about incorporating coaching into their organization.
Thank you, Brenda. So if I heard you correctly, you can either hire or contract with an outside individual or vendor to be able to provide coaching techniques. But for sustainability and building capacity, identifying those key leaders within the organization that exhibit some of those skills and qualities to be able to facilitate coaching practice within the organization at every level.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this great demonstration in regards to coaching for success, not only for the practitioner, but also for the organization. Thank you.
Thanks.
Logo for the Child Welfare Virtual Expo 2018.